Let's go live. Hold on here. We're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to upload actually the material online, so everyone could read it out of the Steinsaltz Talmud. Or here we go. All right. Okay, so we are going to. Hey Judith, we're going to let's see how we work this here. Okay. Are you guys able to see the Talmud on your page, the English and Hebrew? Let's see what's going on.
It's kind of small. I can see it, but it's small.
You could see it, it's small. Hold on, let me see if I could. Let's do stop sharing and do it again. Hold on. Hey Avi. So let's do this. Okay. How's it now? Oh, so small?
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better.
All right. So this is the Steinsaltz Gemorah. I'm going to have the original text in front of me as well as the commentaries on the side. So it says like this: Amar Sar Ha'olam. So we were in the middle of the Gemara. We're holding page 94a in middle. We're talking about that Hashem wanted to make Chizkiyahu the king, the Mashiach, and he doesn't do it because he doesn't say Shira, he doesn't say praise to Hashem. So he says like this. So Omer Sar Shal Olam Lefanav. So the master of the angel that's in charge of worldly things says in front of Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalom, Lord of the world, so he says that he should perform the will of the righteous, meaning that he should perform the will of Chizkiyahu and he should bring the Mashiach. So it says Yatsa Baskal V'Amra. So a voice from heaven came out and responded to this angel that he says, Razili, these are secrets that are to me only. Means when the Mashiach is going to come. So what are we talking about? Hashem wanted to make Chizkiyahu the Mashiach, and he doesn't because he doesn't say Shira, he doesn't bring the Mashiach. So now the world wanted to say Shira, the world said Shira, others wanted to say Shira, wanted to say sings praise to Hashem in order to that the moment should remain. But God says, Razili, it's a secret. So the Navi responds, Yeshaya says, Oili, Admasai. Like Rashi says, what's he saying? Oili. Admasai Yav Mashiach. When is Mashiach going to come? So he says, Yatsa Baskal V'Omer Boigdim Bagadu Ubeged Boigdim Bagadu. So he says, treacherous deal treacherously and treacherous deal very treacherously. Meaning to say, Rashi says that Rava says in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, the say is Rabbi Yitzchak, until there's going to be those who are looters, and the looters are going to come and loot the looters. Meaning to say, there's going to be looters in Eretz Yisrael, and there's going to be what does it mean? The looters are going to loot the looters. So either the literal translations can be that other people are going to come and loot those who loot. That happens all the time. But the Mefarshim say, Rashi says in Ksubis on the same idea, that the Jews are going to come back, that there's going to be looters in Eretz Yisrael. It seems very similar. Looters could be, the literal translation of looting is usually applied to monies and damages of property. But looting could also be in October 7th. So they're looting, and then the looters are going to come back. Those who were looted are going to come back with others. The Rashi says the Jews are going to come back with the nations in the world to take back what was looted from them. But Bekitzer, it's not going to happen at this moment that the prophet wants for it to happen. So the Gemara continues. Masa Duma, the pasuk says, the burden of Duma, Alai Kore Miseir, calls out to me from Seir as a location. That's where Esav is from. Shemer Ma Milaila, Shemer Ma Milail. So the watchman of the night, the watchman, what of the night? So what is this referring to? What's the pasuk referring to? So Duma is also an angel. So Rabbi Yochanan says, Oise Malach, Duma is a Malach, HaMemuna ala Ruchais, that is in charge of the spirits, meaning the spirits in this case, we mean the souls. and his name is Duma Shmai. So the souls of the Jewish people come to Duma, who, so to say, they're responsible for them. Amr Lai Shemer Ma Milaila. You're the watcher? What's with the night? Night is referring to Galus. Shemer Mar Milel. Amr Shemer Asa Biker. So he came in Hashem, who's also the Shemer, says that there's going to be a morning. Begam Laila, but there's also going to be a night. And Imtiv Oyun Ba'oyu Shuvu Esui. And he says that if you will inquire, Imtiv Oyun means if you inquire, so return means do tshuva. So I'm going to see Rashi. Rashi says that Sar HaRuchais, who's the Sar HaRuchais? That the Neshamas Nifkades Etzloi, the souls that are deposited, so to say, in the charge of this angel called Duma. And Amr Duma Elai Kaira Ruchais Al Aski Seir Esav. They ask him about Esav, which is the Gullus, the exile we're now, is the exile of Esav. So he says, Ma Milaila Kadosh Baruch Hu Shushemer Ma Omer Hagmina Gullus Shehu Kalayla. What are we doing about this exile that's like the night? So, like it says, Ma Davar Masay Keitza Gula Milaila Zeh. When is the Gullus going to be over? So he answers Asa Biker as in a question. And so he says, others who say, like, is the morning going to come? Others say that it's an answer, that Amar Sar, the angel said, Shemer Kadosh Baruch Hu Asa Biker Gula Tavi, that the Gula is going to come. V'gam Laila, but first it's going to have to come Gulas. So we know that the way it works is that there's first night, Vayi Erev, Vayi Biker. First comes night, then comes day. And so too, the angel basically was telling the Jewish people that first has to come darkness. Unfortunately, this darkness has been pretty much with us for the past 2,000 years. But there has to be darkness first, and after darkness, Asabayka comes morning. Like he quotes, Im tivakshuli goyel, if you want to get redeemed, then you have to ask Rachmanos. Ba'yu means ask Rachmanos, and you have to do tshuva. And if you do tshuva, if you repent, if you return, the gula is going to come. Okay. If this is, we're going to try this now with having the Even Yisrael Steinzad's Talmud on the page. So everyone can follow along easier, especially because we're now going through a long period of Agada to Agada Gemorah. So it helps everyone with the translation. And it also has over here the Rashis, and I have on the side, again, the commentaries if you want to add to that. Okay. Okay, so he says like this. Now we're going back to the fact that Chizkiyahu didn't say Shira. So he says like this. Tana Mishum Repapios. Repapios says like this. It's a shame. It's a disgrace, so to say, that on Chizkiyahu, V'siyaita, and the others, Shle'amar Shira, why wouldn't they thankful? Again, what did we learn last time? What were they supposed to be thankful about? One was the victory over Sennacherib, and secondly, Chizkiyahu himself was healed from a prophecy that he was going to die. So there's two things that are huge things, not just for him, but for the king. If the king is healed, it affects everyone. So Acha Pascha Aretz, and he had to wait only that the earth started to say V'amar Shira. Shnema, like we said before, Miknaf Aretz Mir Shemana. We heard from the ends of the earth. We heard the songs. Tzvilat Tzadik. So Kiyetz and same thing also we find in other places where someone else was praising Hashem, and why weren't the people on hand praising Hashem? Where we find that by Yisroi. Yisroi comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe tells him all the miracles that happened. Although by Moshe, it's seemingly a question. Moshe, they did say Shira. They said Shira Oz Yashir. But it says, so Kayitza B'zeh Davar also we find, Vayim Yisroi says, Baruch Hashem Asher Hitzil Eschem. Praises a God who saved you. It could be the Shira was only on Kriyas Yamsuf, and Yisroi said on everything, on Amalek, on Yitzias Mitzrayim. It says that that Moshe told Yisroi everything that happened. So Yisroi said, Baruch Hashem, praises God that saved you all from these disasters. And so Tana Mishum Rapapios G'nai Moshe. This is also a, so to say, a disgrace. It's a strong term, but either way. G'nayu l'Moshe v'shishim riva, and the 600,000 Jews, shle'amru baruch, they didn't say baruch, ad shebo yisrael v'amru baruch Hashem. So they said shira, but they didn't use the terminology of baruch, blessing Hashem. So like Rashi says, yeah, Davra Maguna also, it's a disgrace that they didn't say shira, or they didn't say bracha, they didn't bless God until Yisroi blessed the God. Now, once we're already talking about Yisroi, so we're going to continue with Yisroi, the story with Yisroi. What happened with Yisroi? Yisroi is told by Moshe Rabbeinu of all the miracles. So the pasuk says, "Vayichad Yisroi." So what does it mean, Vayichad Yisroi? So he says Rav Shmuel, there's a disagreement. V'yichad is a terminology of fear. So Rav Shmuel, or kind of he had a reaction. Rav Amar Shehevir Cherev Chad Al B'sarai. Rav says he passed a sharp sword over his flesh, meaning he circumcised himself when he heard the miracles that happened to the Jewish people in the leaving of Egypt and Amalek, etc. So he converted, he circumcised himself. And Shmuel Amar Shanasa Chidudim Kol B'sarai. He had like goosebumps all over his flesh, that because he was hearing what happened to the nations. You have to remember, Yisro himself wasn't just a foreigner to the whole story. According to most midrashim, I think it's the Gemorah even that says that Yisro himself was in the conversation that Pari had with Eov, right? He was with Eov, Yisro, and with Bilham to decide how should they deal with the Jewish people. So Yisro was there. He knew that there was a plan to destroy the Jewish people. Either way, when he heard about the destruction of Pari and Amalek, he got goosebumps. So from here, we have a famous Gemara that says, Amar Rav. So Rav says, it's funny. Shmuel is the one, Rav says that he did a bris, he did a circumcision. Shmuel is the one who said that he got goosebumps from hearing of what happened to the nation. So Rav responded that, this is what people say, means a convert, you shouldn't shame a Gentile. Hey, Shuki. You shouldn't shame a Gentile in front of a convert for 10 generations. Why 10 generations? Because for 10 generations, meaning 10 generations of a family of converts. So if a person converts and 10 generations later, a descendant of a convert, you shouldn't shame the nations because they take it personal. And when Yisro was in himself 10 generations, he was a first generation convert. But from here we see that in general, you shouldn't shame a convert about, shouldn't talk about nations, about the goyim in a negative way in front of a convert, because it makes them uncomfortable. Like Rashi says that Giyura adasara daire, that a Gentile for 10 generations says it's a mashal b'nei adam Yisrael lavasiri have. Of course, Rashi says Yisrael wasn't a 10th generation convert. So Rav kind of learns from Yisro's reaction. Again, Yisro was on a higher level than most people, and nevertheless, he really took it personal when they talked about the destruction of the nations. Okay, so again, it says that we're continuing in the Talmud. It says, "Lachein yishalach Adon Hashem tzvos b'mishmanav razan." So therefore, the master of the Lord, this is all Isaiah talking about the prophecy back on the story of Sennacherib who came to destroy. Therefore, shall the master of the Lord of hosts send among his fat ones leanness. So Mashmainov is fat, and Razin we know is lean. My b'mishmainov, what does it mean on his fat ones, Razin, leanness? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, so Hashem said, Yaveh Chizkiyahu. So also the word Mishmanov is in the word Mishmanov, which is fat, is also the word Shmoina, which is 8. So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, God said, Yaveh Chizkiyahu, let the king Chizkiyahu come. Sheyesh Lai Shmoina Shemus, that has 8 names. We'll see what those 8 names are in a second. V'yiparmi Sennacherib, and so to say, take attribution of Sennacherib, Sheyesh Lai Shmoina Shemus, who he himself also had 8 names. So Sennacherib had 8 names. From here we see an interesting thing, that the names have a power. So the very fact that he needed 8 names of Chizkiyahu to counter the 8 names of Sennacherib, why couldn't you just say the person of Chizkiyahu? We know a name is an external idea. It's not the essence of a person. But the very fact that you could carry 8 names and each name means something has to be strong enough to take the power of Sennacherib. Sheish Shemana Shemus. Chizkiyahu, how do we know Chizkiyahu, the king, had 8 names? So the Gemara says, again, this is a pasuk in Isaiah about the birth of Chizkiyahu. It said again, Yeshaya was related to Chizkiyahu. He was his uncle, according to most opinions. And then his machatanim, they made a shidduch. He married his daughter. So he says, Chizkiyahu d'chsiv ki yeld yulad lanu. There's going to be a child. Bein nitan lanu v'tihi hamisral shichme. He's going to have the rule from the word srara on his shoulders. Re'eku Shemai, he's going to be called Pella. And these are all the names of Chizkiyahu. What are the 8 names? Number 1 is Pella, and the word ployos, wondrous. Yoyetz, giving advice. Kel is its own name, kind of a ruler. Gibor, strong. Avi, and then he says Ad Sar Shalim. So all those names are names that are names of Chizkiyahu. So Chizkiyahu has these 8 names. So the Gemara says, Va'ika Chizkiyahu. What do you mean there's 8 names? He has also the name of Chizkiyahu. So he has 9 names. So they say his real name was not Chizkiyahu. His names was Pele Yoitz El Gibar Avi Ad Sar Shalim. Those were his names. But he was called Chizkiyahu because of his personality. Why? Either he strengthened God, means he strengthened the Jewish people, so to say, in godliness amongst the Jewish people, or he strengthened the Jewish people to their Father in heaven, depending how you're looking at it. But from the word Chizkiyahu, from the word Chazak, strength. So he strengthened the Jewish people, like he says, Rashi says that we find later that again the yeshiva of Chizkiyahu was a tremendous yeshiva, and therefore he strengthened that yeshiva. Okay, so now we have 8 names that Chizkiyahu has that are, and none of the names are Chizkiyahu. So he has 8 names: Pella, Yoyitzkel, Gibor, Avi, Adsar, and Shalem. And then he says another name is, then Sennacherib also has 8 names. How do we know Sennacherib has 8 names? So it says the Chsiv Bey Tiglas Pleser. So what are the 8 names by Sennacherib? One is Tiglas Pleser. One is Pilin Eser. Another one is Shalman Eser. And we have Pul, and we have Sargon or Sargin, he says, and we have Osnapa Rabba V'Yakira. So again, these are 8 names that are found in scripture connected to Sennacherib. So the Gemara says again the same question, but he had a name Sennacherib because Sennacherib has a 9th name, which is the name that he's known by. So they say, no, that's just a description, so to say, of what he went by. Why? One is Sheseichase Riv. He used Sichase is also, it means a conversation. His language was Riv, was argumentative. Another one is Shesach v'nichar dvarim klapi maila, that he said things against heaven. He says over here, Rashi brings down the different places where it says these psukim on Sennacherib, but he says, we're going to see later where he talks about God negatively. Sennacherib was very, again, he was very egotistical, and he was kind of meshed it, together, like Avimelech, we're going to learn about in this week's parsha, kind of meshed it together with, prophecies. He used the prophecies to his benefit. So he was a person we also know what Tzasiach Riv is. It's brought down that when he spoke in Hebrew, the Marsha says that he spoke to the Jewish people, Lashon Yehudis, it's called, which means Lashon HaKodesh. So he says, it's like someone who comes and says, I'm going to talk the language of the people to try to confuse them. So he spoke to he used the Jewish language against them, so that's why he was called Sennacherib. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, why was he able to? Hebrews, if you could see, we're following along on the Steinsaltz Gemorah that has both Hebrew and English on the actual Zoom, as well as you could, of course, have the Gemorah in front of you. We're 92. I think that we're 92. We're 92a still, 94a. So he says, why was he called Snapir Yakira? Why was that? Which means Rabbi Yakira. He's great. Gadol Mechuved, like it says, he's respectable. Why? What was so respectable about Sennacherib? So Rabbi Yochanan says, it's an amazing thing. He didn't say negative about Eretz Yisrael. When he spoke about it, again, Sennacherib had this method of dealing with the conquering nations was by relocation. Any nation he conquered, he relocated them. So halachically, till today, like we said last week, all the laws that are connected to nations, for instance, a Mitzri has to wait 3 generations to convert. A Moavi a man can't come in. All the laws that they say about which peoples are allowed to convert into Judaism and which are not, that doesn't apply anymore because Sennacherib mixed up the world. He relocated the Egyptians. It's not a metaphor. It seems like he literally, like he moved the 10 lost tribes. He moved the peoples. So when he spoke about Eretz Yisrael, he says, I'm going to take you to a land like your land. He didn't say better than your land. So because he spoke about Eretz Yisrael in a kind way, he could have said, I'm taking you to a better place. So why was he called great and respectable? He didn't say anything negative about Eretz Yisrael. He wasn't coming to say that Eretz Yisrael is a bad place. I'm going to take you to a place like the place you're familiar with. Like Rashi says, he could have said, if you want to motivate people, I'm going to take you to a better place. And then that right away comes to Gemorah, Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel, Bichlal, we find Rav and Shmuel throughout the Talmud on many subjects of characters of the stories of the Tanakh, right? So he says Rav and Shmuel, Chad Amar. Then now they want to know what kind of was he smart to say that? Means he's saying to the Jewish people that I'm going to take you to a land like your land. So Chad Amar Melech Preke Chelek. He was a smart king by saying that. We'll see why. Chad Amar Melech Preke Chelek. He was a fool. According to the opinion that he was a smart person to say, I'm taking you to a land like the lands. So, if you would say to them, I'm taking you to a better land than your land, they would say, you're lying. There's no better land than Eretz Yisrael. Means the Jewish people, if you would have said, I'm taking you to a place better than Eretz Yisrael, they would say, you're lying. If he's, and according to the opinion, he's a fool, then the other opinion is why is he a fool? Because what's the point? Why would we want to leave a land that's just like our land? We're happy where we are. It's like someone saying, you want to move to a house? What house? What do you have for me? So I'm giving you exactly the same, a duplicate of the other house in another street. Why would I want to move to another house? I'm comfortable. You want me to move? Give me something. If you can offer me a 5-bedroom house for a 3-bedroom house, we have something to talk about. So I guess he says the Ein Yaakov over here says, what is the argument? What is the point of this argument? Is he says if the question is if God put them in the hands of a fool or put them in the hands of a smart person, I think also we could say that like Rashi says, why would he say they're lying? Because the Jewish people felt there's no land better than Eretz Yisrael. I think also the question was about the attitude of the Jewish people. We're going to see now that the Jewish people, maybe in the beginning they thought Eretz Yisrael was the best land, but as they made their move, the 10 lost tribes made their move. They felt, oh wow, we're going to wherever they went to, someplace in deep into the Middle East or Africa. They felt that it was a better place. So he didn't say it's a better place. They said it's a better place. But I think the idea over here is to talk about how your attitude is about Eretz Yisrael. The Jewish people were very connected to Eretz Yisrael, so you couldn't argue that's a better place. Or you could say that they weren't so connected. All right. Lehecha aglilu. Now here's the famous question: where are the 10 lost tribes? They're lost till today. There's many books that have been written about people who try to find the 10 lost tribes. Of course, we know there's those who think some of the Ethiopian Jews are from the 10 lost tribes, or the Bnei Menashe, south of India. I think there's a book out that says that the English are from the 10 lost tribes, the South Koreans are the 10 lost tribes, the Japanese are the 10 lost tribes. There's all different theories. I'm not sure how they became such large nations, but either way, it's early enough. But there's many, many theories of people who try to find there's 10 lost tribes. But here the Gemara is not going to really help us much because we're not going to really understand what is the answer. But the good question is, Lehecha agli luhu. Where did they go to? Where were the 10 lost tribes exiled to? So Mazurtra says, the Afrique. I'm assuming Afrique is Africa. Okay. I'm not sure how they went to Africa with that route. If they were traveling north, they would have to make a total go east, south, and then west again to get through Egypt. Also doesn't help us much, to the Slug Mountains. I'm not sure where those are. And so that's where they went to. Now, it doesn't say if they stayed there, but that's where they were exiled to. We have many traditions, they went behind the Sambatyon, which is a miraculous space that's where people can't go. According to most opinions, I'm not sure if it's in this Gemara or another Gemara later, that discusses the question if the 10 lost tribes come back in the times of Mashiach or not. Okay. So according to Mazurta, they were taken to Afrique, and according to Pchanina, they were taken to the Hari Slug, to the Slug Mountains. But so he was called a good king or a smart king because he spoke with dignity about Eretz Yisrael, with respect. Av Yisrael, but the Jewish people, Sipru beganusa shel Eretz Yisrael, they spoke negative about Eretz Yisrael. It's such a thing till today. People mamish, you don't talk negative about Eretz Yisrael. It's a thing. I once went, just a small story. I once went on a mission for my grandfather to the Amshin of Rebbe on a business offer that my grandfather had in Sfas about real estate, and the offer wasn't something that the Amshin of Rebbe felt was a good business venture. So he wouldn't say anything negative about Eretz Yisrael. So he says, of course, if to invest in Eretz Yisrael is a huge mitzvah, and to put money in to build houses is a huge mitzvah. But your grandfather shouldn't look at it as a business, meaning to say it's not going to give you a financial return. It's a mitzvah, and it's a great mitzvah. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of a good business deal, he says it might not be the best business deal. And the Rebbe always talked very, very positive only about Israel, to invest in Eretz Yisrael, to buy bonds of Eretz Yisrael. But either way, the Jewish people did not talk positive about Eretz Yisrael. Kimatu Sois, when they came to the area of Sois, or Shaish, Amrei Shavya Ki'ari. First he said, well, okay, it's not so bad. It's almost as good as this land, as our land. It looked as nice as Eretz Yisrael. Kimatu Almin, when they came to a place called Almin, Amru Ka'almin, it's almost like Alman, like the Beis Hamikdash, which is called Beis Elamin, right? They said, well, it was like spiritual, I guess, and more of a spiritual kind of like Yerushalayim. Kimatu Sois Trey, when they came to a place called Sois Trey, which means two, they said Achad Trey, and it's 2 times better than Eretz Yisrael. So whatever, you can analyze it any way you want. But some people would say that it's just positive, that they're trying to have a positive view of Eretz Yisrael. What do you want them to say? It's horrible. But either way, Hashem said it's ganus, and they spoke negative of Eretz Yisrael. And you read the Rashi's over here. It says, where did he bring the 10 Shvatim? The reason why Rashi is saying that, actually, adding in the 10 Shvatim, because the Gemorah kind of is going through 2 stories of Sennacherib. One story of Sennacherib is that how he destroyed the north and exiled the Jews from the Israelites from the north. And the second parallel story is Sennacherib facing Yerushalayim. There were 2 stories. I mean, it happened one after the next, but there were 2 issues. One issue was he destroyed, conquered, and exiled the north, and he exiled the 10 lost tribes, and then he went further south, because the kingdom of David, of Chizkiyahu, of Yehuda was south, right? And he went south, and then he camped against Chizkiyahu, and then that's when he had his fall. He did not conquer Yerushalayim. He conquered cities around Yerushalayim, but did not conquer Yerushalayim. He fell. There was a great miracle that we're going to learn about. So the Gemorah is going back and forth. So as the Gemorah says, where did he exile them? So Rashi says, we're talking about the 10 tribes, which is the north. Like it says, Veinachem b'chelim u'b'chaber nahar gazin v'ari madai hai ninu oisim mekayim. So it says in the pasuk in Malachim where he took him to. He took him to Chiber nahar gazin Ari Madai. Ari Madai seems to me to be the Medes, in the area of the Medes. So that's what I'm saying. That's not Africa. That's going further east. So maybe that would go along with those who think that they're from South Korea. But he says, so the answer we get is not that much better. It says Africa, you're Slug. So it says, I'm just going to continue reading the next Rashi. Av Yisrael, when the Jewish people, when Sennacherib exiled the 10 tribes, they spoke bad about Israel. When they came to Shaish, this land is, wow, it's almost as nice as our Eretz Yisrael, or as nice as Eretz Yisrael. When they came to a place called Almin, they said, Ki Almin it's not just only as nice as Eretz Yisrael, it's even as nice as Yerushalayim, which is called Beis Elmin. When they came to a place called Shaish Trey, which Trey means 2 times, it's double as nice as Eretz Yisrael, like our place. Their names were given based on the Jewish people's response to it. The thing is that interesting is also, just a side point, the 10 lost tribes are talking about Yerushalayim. They weren't in Yerushalayim. They weren't allowed to go to Yerushalayim. They were forbidden from going to Yerushalayim because the kings of Israel didn't let them. Although the last king let them go to Yerushalayim, but they didn't go anyways. Okay. So now we're continuing with the Gemara. The Gemara says like this: Okay, like I said, we're going back and forth 2 stories. One story is Sennacherib fighting and conquering the north and exiling the 10 lost tribes. Now the pasuk is going back to how he got punished when he tried to attack Yerushalayim and Chizkiyahu. Again, I think we learned, and Ashok, you maybe remember, I think it's in Rosh Hashanah or early in Sanhedrin, we learned the whole story of Shavna, that there was there was a lot going on up until that time when he conquered Chizkiyahu. When he tried to conquer Chizkiyahu, there was a lot. The people were against Chizkiyahu. The generals were against Chizkiyahu. He was a lone voice that was not ready to surrender Yerushalayim. He made the same offer to Yerushalayim. Means he made the same offer that he made to the north and said, "I'm going to bring you to land as nice as your land." He offered that land also. He offered that offer to Chizkiyahu. So what was this punishment of Sennacherib? So it says, "V'tachas kivoidai yikoid eish," that beneath his glory shall be kindled the blaze like a blaze of a fire. So what's kvoidai mean? So the Gemorah says, "Tachas kvoidai v'loi kvoidai mamish." We're not talking about actually, because kvoidai could mean his actual body. So the question is, what the Gemara is trying to analyze is his punishment was that they got burned. They were burnt. What does it mean that under their clothes their bodies were burnt, or their bodies remained and their souls were burnt, like the two sons of Aaron, right? So the Gemara says, "Tachas kavoda v'loi kavoda mamish." We're not talking about their body itself. What does kavoda mean? Kavoda just means the clothing. Yehad is a famous Gemara. Yehad Rabbi Yochanan karei lema'anei mechab doisai, that he would call his garment, his robe, his honor. It means, what is the idea over here? The idea basically is what represents a person? Is what represents a person their clothing or the person themselves? Those who remember, my father used to give a speech in Erev and Kippur about the soldier who stood naked before the Tsar. It says, it's not my uniform that serves you, I serve you. But you need a uniform. So Rabbi Yochanan says that how do you know who I am? Is look at my clothing. So he called his money, his robe, his overcoat, his machbadaisai, something that gives me cover. Rabbi That means under his body. He says kvoid is not talking about his clothing, but it's talking about the person, the body. Under the body burnt. What does it mean under the body burnt? So he says kisreifas bnei Aaron, like the burning of the two sons of Aaron. Ma'alahol and streifas neshama, just like the two sons of Aaron, it was the soul that was burnt. The guf kaim and the body remained. Afkan, so too over here, streifas neshama v'guf kaim. It was the body that was being burnt there's the soul is being burnt and the body remained. Okay, we're not going to learn this Rashi. Rashi basically just goes into the wording of this, and we are turning now, I believe, we're turning to the next page. Yeah, Tzadik Daled Amid Beis. Okay, so what were we saying? Hold on. I'm not sure we got to the end of this. Hold on. It's missing some of the Gemara. So I'm going to just read it inside over here. Tana Mishmeid Rabbi Shua. We learned in the name of Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Paroi. We're talking about the difference between Paroi. Not sure. The Steinsaltz Gemara must have been. I'll let them know they're missing a piece in the bottom over here. Tana Mishmeid Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. We learned the name of Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Paroi Shechir Ba'atzmai. Paroi, who himself cursed, so to say, talked negative about Hashem. Nifrei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God paid him back. Mimenu ba'atzmai, himself. Sennacherib, that didn't curse himself, but it sent a messenger to curse God. So is Shechir v'ayidei shliach, he cursed out through a emissary. Nifrei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and v'ayidei shliach, he was paid by a shliach. Now, according to Rashi Learns that Paroi at least had the decency to talk about Hashem himself. We're going to see in a second where Paroi talks negative about Hashem. So God said, like Rashi says, that Paro, who talked about Hashem himself, so God himself preoccupied himself in his punishment, which was a schus, so to say. Like Rashi says, I'm going to read the Rashi over there that we don't have in the Steinsaltz. Who atzmei v'lo yadei shliach. Paro himself cursed Hashem not through an emissary. It wasn't so shameful to Hashem that he sent like a small person to curse God. God himself punished Paroi, and didn't shame him to be punished by an angel, which would be like a lower level of punishment. It means it's like the Rashi says, the you can't compare a person who gets shamed by a great person, that person gets shamed by a small person. What's worse, if a small person shames you, or if a respectful person? At least I was shamed by someone respectable. So in this case, Hashem punishes Paroi, but Sennacherib didn't have the decency to even himself curse Hashem, he had to send someone else to. So therefore, he was belittled, according to Rashi, he was belittled to be paid back by Malach. Not everyone agrees with Rashi that that's the way to understand this Gemara. Others, the Marsha, others say that it's the opposite. That Parai, that he himself opened his mouth against God, so therefore God himself took retribution against him. Whereas Sennacherib, at least himself, he didn't say negative against God, so therefore God himself didn't take retribution, but an angel did. So Rashi says, but that's not the opinion of Rashi. Rashi says, Adei shliach, dahainu bazi yoser. It's more embarrassing to get shamed by a messenger. So to Hashem, because he used the messenger to shame Hashem, so too he also sent a messenger, shliach, to punish the Sennacherib, like it says. We're going to learn in a second. How do we know Parai? So he says, Parai d'chsiv, it says, Mi Hashem asher eshbam b'kolim. Moshe comes to Parai and says, God said, let the Jewish people go. So Parai says, Mi Hashem, who's God? So he's saying, he's talking negative about God, against God. Asher eshbam b'kolim, I should listen to him. Nifra kadosh baruch hu menu ba'atzmo. So God himself takes retribution against Parai, like it says, Vayinar Hashem es Mitzrayim etech hayam. So we're talking about the final revenge, so to say, which is in the Red Sea, in the splitting of the Red Sea. And it says also, another pasuk says, the rachta b'yam susecha, the rachta, the God himself, so to say. Chabuk says that that with the horses that were stumbling on them, so that Hashem himself did it, and that's Hashem taking punishment, revenge on Parai. Sennacherib, what did Sennacherib say? The chsiv biyad malachecha chirafta Hashem. So the verse says about Sennacherib that biyad malachecha, in your messengers, chirafta Hashem, you made God angry. So too, God took revenge against Sennacherib when he came, not the first time. I'm talking about when he continued south to attack Chizkiyahu through a messenger, and that's the famous story that the angel of God came down and struck the camp of Ashur. How many people? 185,000. I think according to most opinions, the 185,000 is leaders. That's how great the army was. So it was 185,000, but whatever it is, 185,000 is also a large army even till today. So 185,000 was struck by the angel, but the angel struck not God himself. Okay. The pasuk continues. The Gemara continues. The Gemara says, Rabbi Chanina bar Papa Rami. Rabbi Chanina bar Papa asks the question like this about Sennacherib. It says, we have two verses. One verse says, Miroim Kitzai, and another one says, like Miroim Kitzai means from the farthest heights, Miroim Kitzai, from the room elevated, far. And the other one says, Meloin Kitzai, from the lodging. The word malon also, like everyone knows in Hebrew, is like a malon is a hotel. So Amar Isai Rasha, but Chila Achriv Dir Shamata. So what was he saying? What was Sennacherib saying? First, I'm going to destroy another smart aleck, right? So he says, first I'm going to destroy God's resting place here, meaning the Beis Hamikdash, Yerushalayim. Then I'm going to go destroy whatever he has in heaven. So similar to, I guess, those who were in the days of the Tower of Babylon, he thought that was something, he got way ahead of himself. Like Rashi says that Miroim Kitzai, it says in Yeshaya, and Malam Kitzai, it says in Malachim. Like, so Maroim Kitzai mashma dir shlamata, when it says Miroim Kitzai, it's talking about he's going to give a kates from the elevated, seems to be Hashem's dwelling place over here. Like it says Miram Mirisha in Makim Mikdashenu, that's talking about the Beis Hamikdash. And Milon Kitzai, which is like the lodging of Hashem, that's the Dir Shemayla, Beis Meloine, God's resting place above. So I'm talking about, again, Sennacherib in his vicious ways. Okay, we're going to continue. Omer Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says like this about Sennacherib. We're continuing about Sennacherib. Ma'ay d'chsiv, what does it mean when it says that Ata hamibal ade Hashem alisa ala mokem azel hashchisai? So the pasuk is talking about in Kings. It says, "Have I now come up without the Lord against this place to destroy it?" Means hamibal ade Hashem, without Hashem alisa ala mokem azel hashchisai. He's talking. God wanted me to destroy Eretz Yisrael. So he's saying, Hashem Omrei la yalei alar zazais v'shchitza. You're coming to Sennacherib with tainas. You're coming with him with complaints. Why is he trying to destroy the Eretz Yisrael? He says God prophesied about it. How did he know? We know that he had Rav Shavuk is the general, I think the head of the army of Sennacherib. He was a Jew that converted, so he was your worst situation. He knew all the prophecies. He spoke in Lashon HaKodesh. He was the one who enticed the Jewish people. He was the one who got Shavna and the other people against Chizkiyahu. He talked to them in Hebrew. He talked to them in Lashon HaKodesh. So Rav Shavik tells the king, there's a prophecy. Isaiah himself says you're going to destroy Eretz Yisrael. So what is he talking about that God said he's going to destroy the Eretz Yisrael? The Shammai Navi heard that the Navi said, again from Rav Shavak, he heard that the Navi says, Yanki Ma'as Almazeh, because the people have been Ma'as, they disgusted me. Esmei HaShiloach, and they were disgusted by the Shiloach, which is the waters that go through, that go under the Yerushalayim. Ahochim La'at, that go slow. Umisai says Ritzion ben Ramalia. And they rejoice with Ritzia in the son of Ramalia. So Isaiah is talking about the Jewish people. What was the story? That we're going to see in a second, that the Jewish people didn't take pride in Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was the frum king, the religious king, the Torah king, the tzaddik. They didn't look at him. He didn't show royalty. He didn't show people like to be odd. How much did the king pay for his car? How much food does the king eat? How nice? Why is everyone obsessed with looking at in England? All the royalty. What's important to you? It's not your food. You're not eating it. You're not even enjoying it. But people want that they want to know that royalty exists, and they felt that the royalty of Chizkiyahu, which was a holy royalty, wasn't comparable to the royalty of Ben Ramliyahu, which was the king of Pekach. Ben Ramliyahu was the king of Israel that ended up being exiled and killed and destroyed. But before all that, they said, Mo'as ha'amazeh, the people were disgusted with the Mei Shiloach, which is referring to Chizkiyahu, the waters of the Shiloach, which go slowly. We'll see what that means. From the joy of Ben Ramalia, that he had it all beautifully. So what does this mean? So it says, Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says like this, that this pasuk means to say that ilmole turgumei de haikra, that the translation of this verse, I wouldn't understand what the pasuk is saying. What is the pasuk saying? That since the people loathed the rule of the house of David, that led them gently. The medaber lahoin v'noyach. Noyach is nachas. K'mei shiluach, like the words of shiluach, the nagin v'nayach, the shiluach is not a big water source. Anyone who's been in Yerushalayim and went down, you could still today go to the sea. The waters of Shiloach is a little trickle. The Isru b'ritzin bar Ramalia, and they preferred the abundance of the son of Ramalia, with the kings of the north. So, and then the pasuk continues. Because of that, God said that there was a prophecy to destroy Yerushalayim. So, what were they saying? What bothered them so much about Chizkiyahu, and what were they so so impressed with Ben Ramayu, the kings of the north? So what does it mean? That the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he's blessed in the inhabitant of the just, of the righteous. So Miras Hashem Beis Rasha, where God is the curse of the house of God in the house of the wicked. That's Pekach ben Ramliyahu. That's the last king of Israel, which was known. His name was Pekach ben Ramliyahu. That how ostentatious was he? He ate 40 sa'as, a huge amount of gezalas, is a kind of seabird, b'kinuach suda, as a dessert. Means he was really royal. Royal. He was it was large. When Nevei Tzadikim Yivarech, what does it mean that the Nevei Tzadikim Yivarech, that in the inhabitant of the righteous is blessing? This is the king Chizkiyahu. He only ate a little litra. Smaller litra is a very small amount of vegetables for his meal. So here you had Chizkiyahu that ate small portions of soup. He got by a little soup or a little salad. Yerakis is vegetables for his meal, and he's eating small, and not it's not this huge royalty. And Pekach ben Ramliyahu is eating a tremendous amount of birds just for his dessert. So they weren't impressed with Chizkiyahu. He says over here, liter is less than 10 cc. That's 100 cc. Sorry, it's a very small amount of soup or whatever he ate, but a greens dish. So what happened? So the pasuk continues, because that they talked like that about the king, and they wanted to be like others, they wanted to be like the north, and they were disgusted by the righteousness of Chizkiyahu. So the prophecy Isaiah says that I'm going to bring this huge river, this huge flow of the king of Ashur. And the pasuk continues, and shall sweep through Judah, and it's going to pass through reaching up to their neck. So it's a sign that there's going to be destruction. And like he says over here, Rabbi Steinsaltz adds, Rab Shaka alluded to that prophecy when he said in the verse of the Kings that the Lord said to destroy the land. Rab Shaka again was the convert who converted out to whatever the religion was in Ashur, and he went and he was the general of Sennacherib. He said, God told you to destroy Jerusalem. What do you want more? God told you. So then Gemorah asked the famous question, if that's the case, if Sennacherib had a prophecy, and there was a prophecy that he should destroy Yerushalayim because Hashem was upset at the Jewish people, in Yehuda even, why was he punished? So again, this is the confusion. You know, when you want to talk in the name of God, you better make sure you know what God is saying and what he's referring to. That's always a lot of the times the problem. Someone wants to say something in the name of Hashem, and you're not exactly in the know of all the details. And the Gemara answers, Navi aser shvatim snabi, that you're wrong, that the prophecy was about the 10 tribes. It wasn't Ihu Yoav Daite Akul Yerushalayim, and he thought it meant that he could take Yerushalayim as well. So the 10 lost tribes, even though seemingly Pasuk was alluding to the people in Yerushalayim that were taking pride in the 10 lost tribes in the kingdom of Yisrael. They thought Pekach ben Remalia was more royal, he ate food. And again, how that affects me in my house if he's eating 40 birds for dessert, but that's how people are. So the prophet came and said, for there is no wariness, there is that is set against Yerushalayim. A person that's tired with Torah, because Chizkiyahu forced the Jewish people to learn Torah. Chizkiyahu was a king again that was in between Amos and Menashe, and he taught. We're going to see in a second. He taught the Jewish people Torah in abundance. So they were tired. He says, "You're not going to attack the people that are toiling, tired, so to say. They're so preoccupied in Torah, and the people who try to." Who try to make them tired. He says over here, I'm just going to quote and read the note that Rabbi Steinsaltz writes over here, the questions like I'd asked, that, and then we're going to stop here. It says, the commentators point out that the prophet prophesied that Sennacherib would sweep through Judah as well. And they ask, why was he punished? They explain that the meaning of the prophecy is that Sennacherib would eliminate from Judah all those removing the support for the king of the house of David. In other words, David's ministers, Shavna and the people that were with him. Sennacherib intended not only to sweep through Judah, but to conquer it as well. So basically, the Mashal says, yes, there was, because clearly the prophecy is talking about the people of Judah. So the idea was that he was going to flush out the bad people from Judah, but not conquer Judah. He says over here the 10 lost tribes. He says some explain that the approach to the 10 tribes relates specifically to the first generation of exiles who were wicked and unworthy to share the world to come, and that there is nothing preventing their children from a share to the world to come and from the return to Eretz Yisrael. Furthermore, as it's stated that some members of the 10 tribes remained in Eretz Yisrael and assimilated into the tribes of Yehuda and Binyamin. Their status certainly is like that the rest of the Jewish people. Okay, so Reb Steinsaltz is going just to the final question about the 10 lost tribes, if they were going to come back. So it's saying even though it says they don't have a portion in the world to come, it's only them, but not the descendants. And of course, it's clearly that over the years of the kingdom of Israel, a lot of the 10 lost tribes were not interested in what was happening in the north, and they went south to join the kingdom of of Yehuda. And therefore today, that's why a person is called Yisrael. You're not called, we don't know for sure, I'm a Levite. And if someone's a Cohen, they're a Cohen. But if you're not a Cohen or a Levite, you're not necessarily certainly to come from Benjamin or Yehuda. You could be from any of the tribes, because a lot of the tribes over the years made their way south to join the kingdom of Yehuda. So therefore, there's a healthy mix of all the 10 tribes till today amongst the Jewish people. All right, everyone. Again, I'm not sure if anyone has any comments. They want to private message me about this of doing the Agadata this way, of having the Steinsaltz and just reading through it this way, as opposed to what we were doing last time, reading out of the original text. Let me know. Either way, Laila Tov, thanks for joining, and see you next week.
And I really like having this commentary, the text, to be able to read along with you.